Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah, that's right. This is the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks and brought to you by SIR Music Equipment Rental, where you can get all your gear, all your backline fun stuff. And then, of course, we've got our great friends over at Pitbull Audio, pitbullaudio.com. These guys can get you outfitted. If you want to own that gear, Pitbull Audio is the place to go. They have a store down in National City. They also, for you folks listening all over the world, you can order anywhere in the world, and they will fulfill it, and they got the best prices and best gear. And this is a glorious Saturday afternoon here in San Diego. I don't mean to rub it into anybody who's having less than ideal weather, but we love our weather here. And we've got a native son here right now that is I'm just tickled pink and honored to have. Mr. Wolf Marshall is here with us today. Wolf, how you doing, sir?
Tino, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
This man is a legend here. He's a legend all over the world. He's one of the most celebrated players. He's known to be able to play anybody's style, and that is not easy. We were just talking about that actually during the break. Someday I'm going to actually have like a camera or something, because we get all these great conversations in and before and after the breaks. And Wolf, you've had such a prolific career. I always like to start in the beginning. How did this all start? What was that passion spark that got you wanting to play music?
Oh, I always had music in the family at an early age. My mom was a classical pianist, and she was a concert artist when she had me, which was her first kid.
Yeah.
And in those days, a mother didn't tour, especially if you came from like an old European background. You became a mother and you stayed home and you did all the kinds of things that stay-at-home moms do. But one of the things she did do when stay-at-home mom is she would practice her glorious classical piano pieces, Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Franz Liszt, and I would hear that at an early age. But what was the most interesting thing, which I think trained my ear, was hearing her practice very complicated runs, like Chopin chromatic runs and whatnot, at blinding fast speed. And every once in a while she'd hit something that, it's not quite right. And I'd hear her instantly corrected over and over again every day, because she would just put me in a blanket under the piano so she could keep an eye on me, and that way she could practice for 4 or 5 hours straight without having to worry about where the kid is, drinking some Drano or something. So that was a nice situation. It trained my ear to hear, in a way, what the wrong notes were and the right notes were.
Yeah, and just, before you can even think about it, you were already internalizing all this great music technique and theory. That's awesome.
What was great about it, too, just one little last point, is that when you're that young, you don't talk. You have no input other than the sound that's coming in.
Yeah.
So you can't be looking at something. You're like 6 months old. So that's all the sensory input you're getting.
Yeah.
So it changes you.
Well, and as you're listening to that, obviously, at some point, there was a trigger point that says, I want to do that, too. When was that point when at what age were you?
I was probably about 13 or 14 when I first started deciding that I really loved pop music and rock music.
Okay.
Those were the things that were in, I'd been playing classical music for a number of years since I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
I played violin till I was 9, then I played the piano from like 10 to 12, and then I played, 12 years old, I played cello for about a year, which I didn't like at all because you can't stand up and walk around playing a cello. Anyway. So
turn this way.
Yeah.
It's
not
a bass.
the same.
Cello.
Exactly.
I'm sorry,
Jack Black.
Yeah.
Great scene. School of Rock. Love it. So anyway, I started seeing around Southern California the great Southern California rock bands that were playing surf music and instrumental rock, and they all had great guitar. I mean, Dick Dale, the Beach Boys, a lot of the surf bands, the Bel Airs, the Challengers, all these great bands, and you kind of dream of being in that kind of band. So I started that kind of band when I was 14, just a fledgling guitar player, and then, of course, I saw the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
And the Beatles, suddenly, that's the kind of music I want to play. Surf music suddenly took a back seat.
Yeah.
And, you started getting with guys that were into that British sound.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
led to getting into my real big idols, of course, were Eric Clapton and Hendrix.
Yeah, yeah.
Those were the guys, and all the John Mayall Blues Breakers stuff.
Yeah. You had a great story in the break, man, that I'd like you to share that with the Eric Clapton coming in, and then
Well, the way the story actually goes, this is about Jimi Hendrix's first performance in a club in London, and people had been anticipating that he was going to be the greatest guitar player in the world because of all the advanced publicity.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the players on the scene, like Jeff Beck and Pete Townsend, they were kind of skeptical, and
Yeah.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
But I have another story about Eric Clapton and Jimmy, I got to tell you. But anyway, the story goes that Jimmy was playing in the club and Jeff Beck had arrived a little late. So he was walking into the club and Pete Townsend was leaving the club. And Jeff said, "Is he that bad?" And Pete said, "No, he's that good."
That's a great story. We had Brian Auger, I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier on the show.
The other
last
story I
week.
wanted to tell you before we forget is that Eric Clapton and Hendrix. Hendrix was in New York when Chaz Chandler gave him the option to come to England and start a career
Yeah.
in the British invasion, and he said, "Well, one condition: do I get to meet Eric Clapton?"
Yeah.
that was a story too.
That was definitely a true story. Like
Yeah.
I mentioned, Brian Auger, just hearing that history that was there, was mentioning all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so now you've got this. Now we kind of established the power of the British invasion. You've been inspired now by this group. What did you do from that particular point on?
I started learning all that music as well as I could, and luckily I have a good ear. So from early childhood and also from the classical and stuff like that, you develop your ear. And so when I picked up the guitar, my mom was a classical musician, so she said, "Well, you can try this because you tried the other instruments and they didn't really take. I wasn't interested in them as much." So she rented me for my birthday a guitar for 1 month.
Oh, wow.
It was a cheap little K piece of junk, but I taught myself songs.
Probably worth a lot of money right now. But yeah.
It's kind of I guess it would be somewhere like a Teisco Del Rey category or some sort of Supro or something.
Yeah, where
it
they're
would be in that category.
Couldn't even give them away before, but now it's like they're all sought after.
Anything old is worth something, yeah. But anyway, the idea is I taught myself so much music in that 1 month that she said, "Okay, we're going to rent you a guitar for 6 months." That was a Les Paul, and then that started the whole deal going.
Wow, once you got that Les Paul in your hand.
Yeah, it was a Les Paul Jr., but still, it was a Les Paul,
Yeah.
and it really changed my life.
And those, even back then, still were remarkable guitars.
Pat Travers loves that guitar. That's one of his main instruments is a Les Paul Jr.
Yeah, definitely. So you got the bug. You was that here in San Diego? Or
No, I lived in L.A. at that time.
Okay.
In an area called Los Feliz, which is technically called East Hollywood.
I used to live in up north, between Atwater. I had to think about between Glendale.
I had played with guys in Atwater. My drummer and my rhythm guitar player were in Atwater. We all went to Marshall High School.
Yeah, right.
Nothing to do with me.
That's what the little bit of trivia. That's like the high school that you see like in all the the movies. So
the Gothic front, I think Mr. Novak was filmed there. That famous '70s show.
There's a bunch of them there. I'd always see it. You see it. So that's pretty funny. So that's just a little side story, guys. Sorry, we get a little tangents here.
What's interesting is I lived about 3 blocks from ABC Studios.
Yeah.
So I would walk down there. They had a show called Shindig. And I would see some of those bands like Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. I think maybe the Yardbirds were on there.
Oh, wow.
I can't recall which ones were on there because it's so long ago. But I remember definitely seeing Mitch Ryder. And that kind of really changed your life. He had a great guitar player, Jim
I was
McCarthy.
around and it was on. I was a little young. I remember little bits and pieces of it from that time. But yeah, that's great. So you've got such a wealth of influence that you had. When was that first moment that you started playing on stage that you're like, I've arrived. This is it. This is what it's all meant to be about.
Well, I had a few high school bands that were sort of just learning stages. They were we played what's called sports nights, which are like where you would have a sports event and then they'd have a little party on the premises, and 3 or 4 bands would play in different corners of the playground and stuff. But later on, I got with a much more professional band that basically grew out of a Hollywood group that was pretty well known. They were in residency at the Hullabaloo at the time called the Palace Guard, and they had a regional hit. Anyway, their drummer left and formed a new band and asked me and a couple of other players who were in the area to join.
Wow.
And so that first band we had was called Sweet Wine, we did some recording and stuff, but it got shelved. Neither here nor there. But the idea is we played a lot at Guitarist on the Sunset Strip, and we knew we were hanging with guys like Buffalo Springfield and The Doors. And we're talking like we're 15, 16-year-old kids.
Oh, that's...
Moby Grape. We met a lot of those bands because they were all in that scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we met those guys. Jim Morrison used to come and see us play on the Sunset Strip. But anyway, neither here nor there. But the idea was that at some point I loved the blues so much. And the blues became my main thing, B.B. King and especially Eric Clapton with Blues Breakers.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess the moment I felt like I arrived was when I played Hideaway with the band all the way through. And just did it like note for note, like Clapton would play it.
And that's kind of the start of one of the big things that you're known for. We've got about 45 seconds. With that, what's one quick memory that you can think of when you were during those days that you can kind of share with the audience? You got 30 seconds.
Well,
I know, sorry.
I remember one night where we were playing a really long, slow blues because as we got more and more deeper into the blues, it got deeper, and we did a tune called I Can't Quit You, Baby, which was based on the slow version Mayall did. And I remember looking over and seeing Jim Morrison fall off his bar stool because he was so into it. And you could hear the clunk as he hits the floor, and then he gets right up because he's so loose.
Oh,
he was
man.
having so much fun.
That
Probably would have cracked somebody else's skull wide open.
Yeah, but hey, not Jim. Jim could live through it,
And he was a big fan of the music. He had a place down on La Cienega, and he would always be walking around the Sunset Strip, and it was just kind of fun to see him there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We got to take a pause for the cause. We got to pay the bills here. This is the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet talk radio, and, of course, brought to you by SIR Music Equipment Rental and Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. Make sure you check us out on Twitter, Facebook. We even have a Reverb Nation, the Changing Stage. We'll be right back in a few short minutes.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
In the military, things can change in an instant. The Navy Mutual Aid Association, we understand because it's our life too. That's why our dedication to serving the life insurance needs of our military veterans and their families is unrivaled. Navy Mutual offers superior life insurance protection without military service restrictions and limitations. A single focus on providing the peace of mind military families are looking for. That's what we do. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve. Call 800-628-6011 or go to NavyMutual.org.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect. Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
We are into the second segment of the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks and brought to you by pitbullaudio.com, where you can get your gear. They just want you to play it loud. We're all about playing it loud as musicians, right? And of course, SIR Music Equipment Rental, they're the #1 equipment rental company in the world, and they have an office here that in San Diego. Jim and those guys are just amazing. They do all this big concerts here. They actually even go up to the NAMM show and provide all the gear for the NAMM show up there. And we've been having such a great story with Wolf Marshall, how he's getting, how he got Jim Morrison to fall off his stool. It's great stuff. And so, Wolf, you're here. You're this, like I said, you are a son out of San Diego, and you're this amazing player. You're now doing all the Sunset stuff, and you started touring and doing different things. You're a teacher, right?
Right.
Yes. And when did that start? When did you start teaching?
Well, it's interesting. It actually probably started the first month I was in my first band, because I was teaching people in the band how to play the parts.
Okay.
So it started there. They didn't know exactly the right chords, and I could hear them. I figured them out because I knew music theory, and I could hear what the difference is between an augmented chord and a diminished chord. But sometimes when you're learning guitar, just basic bar chords, you don't really hear that.
Yeah.
So I would have to sometimes show people how to play things. I think it started there, but later on, of course, I got a more academic background.
Yeah.
I went to college and studied music and got deeper into teaching.
Yeah. So, and with that, you take personal students. You also teach up in L.A., right?
Sure. I teach one day at UCLA all day.
Yeah.
In the jazz department, jazz improvisation, not beginning, they have no beginning there, but it's the first year, freshmen through seniors.
Yeah. And we've got one of your students here in the studio here. Mr. Rich is here in the studio, and then we've also got another one on call. Kent, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Kent. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Actually, Kent is the last name.
Yeah,
Martin.
Martin Kent. Okay.
Like Martin Guitar.
Gotcha.
I get the same thing because it's Marshall Wolf. Everyone always calls me Marshall Wolf.
Okay, so Martin, okay. So I'm just like, I gave you that moniker like people would do, just call you by your last name. So
that's cool.
You are a student of Wolf, and you have a question for him.
Yeah, Wolf, it's been great studying with you
Thank
for the
you.
last year. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
And you've helped me so much now. I'm actually having delusions of grandeur of playing in small blues jams and clubs again. And at home I use Fender Mustang 1, which is fine. But what would you recommend in a lightweight amp that would do the job, not break the bank or my back?
Well, I would recommend you probably could get what's always a good start for me is a deluxe reverb, Fender deluxe reverb, and then you can modify it with pedals. If you want to go a little bit higher, there's a number of really good little boutique amps with great blues tone, like the Paul Reed Smith one that's the emulation of a 30-watt Vox is really great, breaks up nicely at a lower volume. You could get any of the great, like Black Star makes a nice amp. There are Bogners you could try, Egnater. Any of those would give you a blues sound. In fact, you could get the Hot Rod Blues DeVille from Fender, and it gets you a very nice, modified, sort of a lower wattage twin sound, not too heavy. I'm using those up at UCLA with my students, and they're great.
And what are these, like 50-watt amps?
They can go, let's see, the Deluxe Reverb is a 22-watt amp. And it's tube watts, so you're talking about a lot more power when you're pushing tubes than when you're getting into a solid-state amp. So that amp has a lot of oomph, especially if you bring in a couple of pedals, which is what guys like to use with the Deluxe Reverb is, have a nice tube screamer maybe, TS9 or TS808 reissue. Those are not too expensive. Or a Blues Driver, Boss. And then there's a number of great boutique pedals. Like I love the Exotics pedals, the BB, and the ones that drive the amp harder, the BB Plus.
And those are spelled X-O-T-I-X?
X-O-T-I-C-S. Yeah, that's a company that I endorse, and I love their pedals.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So any of those.
All right. Well, I'll check them out online and then at a certain point start shopping.
Yeah, we can talk more about it in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, great show. I love the story about Jim Morrison.
Those are definitely. We're going to get some more of those. Hey, Martin, thank you very much for
Thanks,
calling.
Martin.
I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Great show.
Thank you.
So, Wolf, you've got some great students. I mean, and these are players. I mean, a lot of these guys are actually really seasoned, and they're getting these. They're getting that little extra 10%, right? They're going up to 11.
Yeah, that's good. That's what happens. It's continuing education. Listen, we're all students because I keep teaching myself new things all the time.
Yeah.
If I go by a week without transcribing something, I feel like I'm being deficient.
Yeah. So, and let's kind of go back a little bit now to how all that got inspired. Okay. You're playing in clubs, and you had so many different possibilities for influences, and you're known for being able to kind of take anybody's style and just reduplicating it. How did that all come about with this playing, and who were some of those influences that you really started to? When we talked about, obviously Jeff Beck and Clapton. Yeah. Who were some of the other ones?
Well, Jimmy, obviously. We used to do, in Sweet Wine, we used to do a cover of, a couple of Hendrix pieces, Foxy Lady and, of course, Purple Haze. But my feature was Third Stone from the Sun.
Okay.
And so I used to play that on stage.
Wow.
And that was great. So Jimmy was in there. And then later on, interestingly, a guy that actually got me into jazz was the guitarist who first played with Jethro Tull. Interesting fellow named Mick Abrams. He was on the first Jethro Tull album called This Was. When I met him, we were on the Sunset Strip still playing a lot, so I was always there. And he was in a band then called Bloodwind Pig. It had a jazz influence. I always loved his playing. So I came up and asked him, I'm interested in jazz. How do I get some of those interesting notes you play? I think it comes from jazz, right? He says, oh, yeah. He says, get out there first thing and get yourself a Kenny Burrell album.
Oh,
so the very next morning I woke up and, I thank Mick Abrams to this day. He got me into that scene by making that great suggestion because Kenny is a blues bass player.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's come full circle because my boss at UCLA is Kenny Burrell.
Wow.
He's the head of the jazz department. He's the one that hired me.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. Yeah. And so you're bringing in all these great jazz, licks, and you're doing all this stuff. When did you started playing with some really key players? Who were some of the folks? You said Kenny, and who were some of the other folks that you've played with?
Well, I had a lot of contact in the 70s with great players. I personally studied with Joe Pass, studied with Johnny Smith, studied with Howard Roberts, and there's interesting stories with all those guys. But probably the biggest influence of that period was Pat Martino, who I actually became good friends with. We didn't even study. From him, I got the whole concept of we're all students of life. Wow. And then we'd hang. Every time he came to town, we would hang. And it was just a beautiful situation. I got to learn more about how to be a jazz musician than to play licks. It's a mindset. It's a way of being creative and a way of being open to expressing things.
Yeah, it's almost like a heart set, from what I would kind of gathering from you and, being players. I mean, I can't play jazz for the life of me, but, it's one of those things where, when you really touch base with that emotive feel in your heart, it sounds like that's where you kind of learn from him.
Well, I bet you could play jazz. You just may not want to play the most extreme dissonant jazz, but I bet you if you play a tune like Chitlin's Concarne that was written by Kenny Burrell, that was on a jazz album, it's a blues.
Make me want to eat some Chitlin's Concarne, too.
And that was the tune that Stevie covered,
Yeah.
So he was a big Kenny fan. When we got together, he talked a lot about Kenny.
Yeah.
So that was the touchstone for a lot of rock players who got into jazz. They liked the blues-based players.
Yeah.
And Kenny is a blues-based player.
And I went to UCLA, and that's one of the things I love about the program is they really bring in the people who've done it versus other schools. I hate, not to knock any other schools, but quite often those are professional educators that haven't really been out in the scene where is what UCLA does is they go out and say, these people are on the scene, let's kind of bring them in as educators. I had Ken Cragen on this week, and Ken was talking about his program up there.
Oh, yeah.
And his master class in business management, but in life and business in general. So there's some really cool things. I'm going to give an endorsement to the UCLA, my old alma mater.
Me too.
Yeah.
My alma mater as well.
Oh, okay. You went there too.
Yeah,
so.
I went there. I went there before they had a jazz department, so I went there for a classical and music theory composition degree.
Okay. I went for entertainment business.
Yeah.
And then, had some really cool courses there. So we got about a minute left. Okay. Who are some of your favorite styles right now to emulate?
Well, I still come down to my leading guy in jazz is Wes Montgomery.
Okay.
And having done a book on him and internalized a lot of that music, it comes out when I play. So that's when I play my usual gig now. I play jazz gigs 2 nights a week for 3+ years.
Wow.
It's the longest running gig I've had in my life, every weekend for 3.5 years.
Wow.
So that's kind of unheard of in the music business. But I channel Wes through that. And Wes and, of course, Pat Martino, who I mentioned before, and George Benson. Those are the guys I like.
We
very
had
much.
Michael O'Neill on the show.
Yeah, Michael O'Neill. He's with George. Sure.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. George was amazing. Paul was just like, he was like a little schoolgirl at that concert. We all went. Paul is my producer and the guy who drives everything around here. So we are going to take a short pause and a break and all that fun stuff as things kind of kick in. We are here with the indomitable Wolf Marshall. This man is a legend. We're fortunate to have him here in San Diego, and even more fortunate to have him here on the radio show. This is the Changing Stage radio show. If you're just tuning in, and we are powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio, brought to you by SIR Music Equipment Rental and Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. They just want to play it loud, and with that said, here's a commercial break.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Has your business been appified? Are you tired of doing marketing that doesn't deliver results? Mobile apps build loyalty and quality retention. Your app from UPG Mobile puts your business on their mind and at their fingertips. UPG Mobile will give you a custom app highlighting how you are unique, targeting your message, and improving your open rates. Appify your business and amplify your presence with your customers at upgmobilemarketinggroup.com.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah, this is the third segment of the Changing Stage radio show, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio, and brought to you by Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. And like Shark says, they just want you to play it loud. He's got that really dominable voice in the commercials. And then, of course, we've got SIR, who takes care of all the big concerts and the musicians, and it's just an amazing thing that they do to keep everybody driving. And we are here with one of the greats, and he is giving us this wealth of history, some stories. You mentioned some stories that you had with some of these players. Give me a couple of other ones that kind of come to your mind as we're kind of going through your annals of really hugely impactful musical career.
Well, I remember, Tino, that when I first started studying with Joe Pass, he was a very unconventional teacher. So he would just show up to his house, and whatever happened that day was what was the lesson. It was really watching a jazz man, how they live. They just live in the moment.
Wow.
So the day I went over there, I remember he had two things that were kind of interesting. One is he had no plan, nothing to show me. So he said, let's play together, and just stop me when you hear something you like. And that was it. Ask me about what I'm just playing. So our lessons proceeded a lot of times very free form and abstract. And one particular day was a really hot day in Los Angeles, one of those heat wave days. So he lived in a small bungalow kind of ranch house in the valley, which got even hotter than Los Feliz. Yeah. So you'd be, you could have 100 degrees out there. Anyway, his air conditioner in his house broke. So the day I came over, he opened the door and he was in his swimming trunks. And we're talking the different kind of swimming trunks than you'd see today. We're talking like the kind of thing James Bond wore with the little terry cloth zipper thing and the swimming trunks, like a little suit.
Oh, wow.
It was like that. That was the classic, what guys wore in those days, with a little belt. And half of it was a towel.
Almost got a little afraid that was going to be a different kind of lesson, right?
So he was really overheated, so he kept jumping in his pool in between the lesson segments. And he would come out dripping wet. And he said, I'm expecting Louis Belson to call because he wants me to play in a gig. So if the phone rings, would you mind picking it up? I didn't ask. And I have a swimming trunk, pair of swimming trunks, and let me jump in the pool too. I just, I was way too intimidated to say anything like that. But he kept coming in wet.
That's funny, man.
With his guitar and showing me stuff.
But you're right. That's kind of the jazz thing. It's like it's like you're structured, but you're not structured at the same time. You're technically prolific, but you're completely free form, and it's just amazing. And you've kind of, you've adopted a lot of that in your style and stuff like that. Tell me about some of the new projects that you have coming up.
Well, there's a lot of new things. I'm working on a series of products with my partner and business associate, Rich Vittel, and we've come out with a new pedal board that I think will be very interesting for players who are interested in something that's not going to require AC power.
Yeah.
And it allows you to have a very small footprint, be very mobile with your rig, and also not be subjected to any AC noise or anything. It's a very unusual battery-powered unit, and I think it's going to be very revolutionary.
It's too bad that Rich is going to disappear with that particular pedal board after this show. We don't know where he's going to go.
Well, that's my pedal board.
Oh,
that's
so actually, it's too bad you're going to disappear. No, I'm joking.
We have trap doors enough for everyone.
Rich has his own version of the same thing, and it's an evolving process. What we're talking about now is the final stages before it's going to hit the market.
Yeah.
We're fine tuning some things that we're realizing what the ergonomics are we need to fix, so the working player can have a nice unit.
And kind of to allude what I was saying is, folks, it's an amazing piece of gear. I was floored. It's it's so nice and tight and compact, but you get so much into it.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was, like you said, you don't need to have a power supply. You don't have to worry about some of the ground noise, loop buzzes that you would get from power supplies. Like Rich said, I went out for my pedal board. I'm a bass player who's, I decided to jump into that pool where, that quagmire of all these different things. And, I went out and bought one of those Voodoo Labs, and they're cool and it's great. But, to not need that, one of the things that you guys said is that, the 6 C-cell batteries will last you for a month.
Yeah, depending on how many gigs you do and how many hours you have it on. But a typical working situation, if you're playing a 6-nighter, you may have to change your battery pack once a week.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
6 C-cell batteries a week, that's really nothing.
Well, for me, when we're doing these like quick on and off shows where we're playing with multiple bands, I'll just bring a couple of pedals and I'll just use the battery so that I'm not having to try to fight with trying to plug in stuff like that. And usually I'm having to swap out those 9 volts every time.
Yeah.
So even if it's only like an hour set, you never want to go with that 9 volts. So that's a great tool. What stage are you in the development with this?
It's pretty close to the end now. We're just tweaking some things that the ergonomics of how it all fits together is pretty close. The battery pack, the way the shielding is, the cover, all that stuff is pretty well established now, and the right modules. What we're tweaking is a particular way that we're going to mount the handle so that it'll protect the battery checker. Because one of the things that's important, what we have included in this unit, is a built-in battery checker so that before you hit the stage, you can tap on the test button and it'll show you with the gauge where you are as far as battery power.
And it's amazing because, it's one of those things where you think of someone should have thought of this already, but we were at the NAMM show. We didn't see anything like this.
No.
This is going to be revolutionary.
It's kind of a little too low tech, but it's meaning that everyone wants the fancier power supplies and buffer amps and the bigger units that are all covered in special, kind of material, Kevlar or whatever. The idea is that what we're doing is we're going back to servicing the really casual needs. A guy says, I got a casual gig. I don't need a fancy pedal board made by, like a very fancy pedal board manufacturer, Bob Bradshaw or something. That's the kind of thing you take on a tour when you're playing stadiums. But I could even imagine, besides people who play just on the weekends or play, one night a week in a club somewhere, I could imagine a guy like Slash, let's say, who likes to jam around town. Some guy calling him and saying, "Hey, we're playing at the Mint tonight, or we're playing at the Viper Room. Can you drop in?" Say he's got his favorite pedals. It doesn't matter what amps are there. His roadies amps, are stored somewhere, like at SIR or something. So he's not going to call him up at 9 o'clock at night. I need my amps. Then I got to get my roadie. Let's just drop your pedals in the Porsche. Drive down the hill, and you're there in a Hollywood club with your sound.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And some of the cool things that you were mentioning, too, is you have modular systems where you can drop in pedals and they just kind of plug in on the sides and stuff like that. And then one of the things that Rich was showing me was the straps that hold the pedals in. So you're not having to worry about Velcro and kind of getting it all mucky with the tape in the back of it and stuff like that. So that's... Where did this come up with? Who thought? Where did the?
Well, Rich had the first idea, but we've just been working on it over a period of a couple of months now, and actually since when? Maybe February. Since February, I've been seeing Rich regularly, and we've been just doing little incremental improvements in the design and the whole, like I said, the layout, so that it's really convenient. Now everything's covered; it needs to be protected. The pedals are mounted on the best surface, and the modular concept, which we call satellites. So if you have a satellite, let's say, that has a couple of pedals, like a volume pedal and a wah-wah pedal, that's different than a stomp box. So you need to address that, as opposed to, say, another whole section of a board. So that's a different kind of satellite. That could be maybe 5 more pedals set up just like the first set. So you can have these different modules depending on your needs. And then we're going to create a tier. So a lot of guys like to have the pedal board where they have all their pedals, one basic tier and then an upper tier, so they can press them on like a second story, so to speak.
Wow.
So there's going to be that available as well.
It's completely customizable, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Most of them are like, what you get is what you get.
Yeah, I know.
You got to make whatever you have fit that. Whereas this is the opposite way around.
Yeah.
Whatever you want it to be, you can kind of just, adapt it to however you are. So Paul is going to have to give up his. You finally got it right, Paul. Now you're going to have to start all over again.
Well, think of it as a second pedal.
Yes.
Board.
Do you guys have a name for it that you're thinking?
We're calling it the Freedom Pedal Board because it frees you from any kind of AC power.
Nice.
Wow, that's very cool. I think, like I said, when you guys are ready to. Well, actually, let's ask that. When do you think it's going to be ready? When will people be able to pick one of these puppies up?
I'd say next month we should be able to have a few actually out in the field there, and from there, I think it'll scale up pretty quickly.
We finally got Rich on mic. That's awesome.
We did. I'm leaning over, so I hope you can hear me.
He's been chilling. Rich is like the guy who's just like, he's that cool guy that's chilling. He's got some things in his pocket. So you're thinking of in about a month?
I think so. Yeah. I think from that point on, I think more people hear about it, and this is great. Being able to present it here.
Is this the first time you guys talked about it on a?
This is a first.
Yeah.
You've heard it here first.
Oh, I feel privileged, man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And if we get some calls on that and everything, that'll be great. So
I'm sorry that you're going to disappear and that pedal board's going to disappear, even though it's wolves.
No, we will come back and we'll keep you posted on everything.
I think they're very awesome. I could see myself eventually getting one of those when they come out. Guys, we've got one more segment, but this is all too fun. Yeah. We got about 20 seconds left. I guess the last question would be for that is, are you guys going to be at NAMM show with us? Do you think that's a possibility?
We're talking about
we're talking about it.
Winter NAMM.
Yeah. Obviously, summer's coming up way too fast.
That's July, so that's too soon.
We'll be broadcasting, so what we'll do is when you guys do that, we'll have you guys on talking about all the cool things.
Yeah,
that happen there.
Hey, that'd be great.
'Cause we broadcast last year, and we're hopefully going to everything. As things go, we're going to be there again this year, maybe with a few different programs. So
beautiful.
This is the Changing Stage Radio Show. We've got one more segment left in our show with Wolf Marshall, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Pitbull Audio, SIR, you guys rock. Thank you for making it that we can be on air talking with cool people like Wolf. And we'll be right back for the fourth segment of the Changing Stage Radio Show.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
Which sandwich is healthy and tasty? Which sandwich can come on bread or in a bowl? Which sandwich comes 51 different ways, so it's always your way. A which sandwich. Stop into our shop in Hazard Center. We're upstairs from the Hazard Center Digiplex. Bring in your movie ticket. We will add a free drink and chips to your sandwich order. Or order online at which.com, and we will have it ready and waiting. WHICH, which.com.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah. This is the Changing Stage radio show, and this is our fourth segment, and we are powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio, and it's been a blessing to be here, and we're just continuing on and on and on with that, and obviously we get, the bills get paid by some really cool people, and that's SIR over SIR Music Equipment Rental and Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com, and they just want you to play it loud, and this is our fourth segment with Wolf, and he has just been given such a, I think even Rich is learning some stuff here today. He's like with you 24/7 practically. So this is awesome stuff. Now we talked about that you're a teacher and you teach jazz up in UCLA.
Right.
What would, if someone were to attend your course up there, what would they learn?
Well, it's all individual master classes.
Okay.
So first of all, you'd have to be accepted in the program, and then you have to get into the combos. And I suss each student out. In other words, I kind of do a diagnostic and see what their needs are. Some are better with chords.
Yeah.
Some need more vocabulary, and some need a combination thereof. Because jazz at UCLA is a little different than most schools. They teach it more coming from the professional world rather than the academic world. So it's not about scales and modes. It's about playing. And Kenny stresses that. He's a player. No matter what, if you're going to come into this course, you got to demo and play.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
required from the get-go.
And you have one of your students on right now, right?
This is one of my private students.
This is one of your one of private. Okay.
Yeah.
So these guys are smart. They're calling in and getting all this great advice for free right now. This is awesome. Let's bring them on, Paul. And, I'm getting senile here with the name of the gentleman that's calling in. Tim Dowdy. Tim, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Hello.
How you doing, man?
Hi there.
Thanks for calling in. And
I'm very happy to be with you.
Hi, Tim.
Have you been tuning in
Wolf.
and listening to us?
Yeah. It's been a great show.
Awesome. Thanks for
It's been a
tuning
great
in.
show.
And like I said, you're a smart man. Call in, get that free lesson right there, right now. You have a question?
Well, I would just maybe to amplify what Wolf said. My experience as a private student of Wolf's was I'd been playing for maybe 25 years. Rock and blues, the typical stuff, starting in garage bands as a kid and so forth. And I decided I wanted to get serious about it. And Wolf figured out where I was and what I needed pretty quickly. And I've been with him for, what's it been, maybe 3 or 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a great experience.
Cool. And did you have a question for Wolf while you're here?
Well, last time we were together, Wolf, we were talking a little bit about guitars.
Sure.
And I think there's a equipment focus
right
on the show. So for somebody who's looking for a nice 17-inch or 18-inch jazz box, what sort of guidance would you give someone like that?
Well, I'd consider, first of all, the price range. If you give me an idea of a budget, then we can talk with more specifics. Did you have a budget in mind?
Yeah, so what about maybe $5,000?
That's a good round number.
I know they're for the really top high end, you're talking about $10,000
sure
and above. But for a player's guitar in the $5,000 range, what sort of things are available?
Well, there's actually a lot of good choices. Heritage makes a lot of great Gibson-style jazz guitars, and they're models in the middle price range, not the top of the line, the Kenny Burrell or the Super Eagle or those kind of things, which are $7,000-8,000, or the Henry Johnson model. The ones that are below that would be definitely between $3,000 and $5,000. And then, of course, there's the other models. That the one I play, the D'Angelico, we're currently making that available in the near future for players. It's a prototype right now, but that model will be also below $2,000. So
that's a pretty guitar, by the way.
Yeah, that guitar is like an L5 that Wes Montgomery would have ordered had he ordered it from D'Angelico. That was my dream, is to put those two factors together to create a modern guitar that has really good qualities, good sound, but is affordable, because a lot of players just can't afford a $10,000 guitar.
Yeah. So that D'Angelico, do you have any idea when that guitar will be available?
Well, right now, the D'Angelico is rolling out their acoustic line that they introduced at Winter NAMM. So with so many back orders, they asked that we would not address this until like the middle of the year, because they've been planning 2 years to launch these acoustics. And they were so successful, now they have to catch up with the orders, which always happens at NAMM when people order. It's a good thing, but it puts other projects on the back burner. So even though I've got the guitar, I'm designing it, working with it. And, the beautiful thing is, as I play it, I see, well, maybe I'll improve the bridge. Maybe I'll improve this. Maybe I'll improve that. So it gives me a chance to do a little field research, playing it on the gig all the time.
So what would you say the main differences would be between, let's say, a $5,000 guitar and a $10,000 guitar? Is it all in the appointments and the doodads, or are there some other differences too?
Well, one of the big differences that you might do to see is, as you get closer to the $10,000 price range, you can actually start looking at some actual vintage guitars that have. They won't be pristine, because if you want a vintage L5, let's say from the golden era, that's going to cost you $20,000. But there's some that have so-called issues. And that means they may have a flaw that a collector wouldn't want, but it's great player's guitar, and you can get those for sometimes $10,000. A very nice vintage guitar with maybe changed tuning keys and a changed pickup.
Yeah,
something
but that
like
doesn't
that.
affect the playability.
No,
at all.
you maybe even put in a great Seymour Duncan pickup. It would sound fantastic. You improve the guitar. They make great PAF clones now. They're super good, that sound in many ways better than some of the 60s pickups.
Now, what about the modern production of the Gibson arch tops, like the L7, for instance?
The L7?
I'm sorry, the L5.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't think they made an L7 anymore. But anyway, the thing is that a lot of those guitars you will find, in my estimation, are not as roadworthy as, let's say, a Heritage. I find the Heritage closer in design and in feel to the vintage guitars. So I would probably they're great guitars. Gibson makes very good guitars, but they're talking about a difference of $7,000 maybe in the $12,000 L5 compared to a $7,000 Henry Johnson model.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt in here, but because one of the things that you do is you're a writer for Vintage Guitar Magazine. That's why you get all this wealth of. Well, that's why you're the writer, because you have this wealth of gear. You mentioned a few of the companies that you're endorsed by, D'Angelico.
Right.
Who are some of the companies that inspire you, that you've endorsed their gear?
Well, currently I endorse Fishman amplifiers that make a very good amp for a self-contained player that allows you to play an MP3 and stuff. I use the Fishman Performer on all my gigs where I'm a solo player. And then, of course, I have Diodario Planet Waves, has been a regular endorser for years. I've been involved with Gibson and Fender.
Yeah.
I've been involved with Martin.
Oh, wow.
I've been involved with National, Dobro. That's actually related to Gibson, but still, it's a separate company. And
there's a guitar company that is known for basses as well. You mentioned it earlier.
Sadowski.
Sadowski, yes.
I've endorsed Sadowski, too.
Yeah.
I'm a featured artist of their equipment.
Well, unfortunately, guys, we've got about 13 seconds left. One quick thought before we leave here. Wolf, go right ahead.
Well, I think the main thing is to play with passion and commitment, no matter what kind of music you want to play and also to keep improving yourself whatever way you can, learning by ear new things or writing things for yourself to play.
Awesome. You know we're going to have you back because an hour is just never enough.
I look forward to it.
Tim, thank you for calling in. Rich, thank you, sir, for just being so dang cool. This is the Changing Stage radio show powered by the Mighty WS Radio Networks, brought to you by SAR Music Equipment Rental and Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud. Thank you, folks, for listening. We're going to have a special segment with Paul doing a little testing.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Progressive Medical.
Hey, this is Heidi Rue, and you know, Progressive Medical Center has literally changed my life and my health, but I'm not the only one. Adele suffered from bone deterioration, bone overgrowth, profound muscle discomfort, physical exhaustion, and mental fog. In fact, the bone deterioration becomes so serious that she had to have back surgery. Well, after the surgery, she still didn't feel well, and so that's when she heard about Progressive Medical Center. Progressive Medical Center discovered that her adrenals weren't working properly, her hormones were out of whack, and the drugs she had been taking were doing more harm than good. Adele came into Progressive Medical Center in a walker, physically and mentally exhausted. But now she's a world traveler. She hikes and walks several miles a day, and it's all thanks to Progressive Medical Center. 770-676-6000. 770-676-6000.
Progressive Medical. This is your life. Live it well.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.